Madam President, this week FBI Director James Comey announced the results of his investigation into Hillary Clinton's email use during her time as Secretary of State. And what we discovered was this. As Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton repeatedly mishandled classified intelligence. Here's what Director Comey had to say. Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. That is a quote from FBI Director Comey. Let me repeat that, Madam President. The FBI concluded that President Obama's Secretary of State, our nation's chief diplomat, the person who is fourth in line to the presidency, displayed gross carelessness when handling information related to our national security. Now, Madam President, if Hillary Clinton can't be trusted to safeguard national security information as Secretary of State, she cannot be trusted to protect national security information as the Democratic nominee for president. And she certainly can't be trusted as our Commander-in-Chief. There are some who would like to take the FBI Director's statement this week as vindication for Secretary Clinton, since the FBI Director ultimately did not recommend prosecution. Madam President, the FBI Director's statement is no vindication. It is an indictment. The Secretary betrayed the trust the American people had placed in her. She repeatedly lied to the American people about the purpose of the server, what was on the server, and the threat it posed to our national security. Secretary Clinton repeatedly claimed there was no classified information on her server, but the FBI investigation found otherwise. According to Director Comey, Secretary Clinton sent or received at least 110 emails in 52 separate email chains containing classified information. 52 separate classified conversations. And of those 52 classified email conversations, 8 contained top secret information, the highest level of classification, and 36 contained secret information. Now, Madam President, Secretary Clinton knew that she was placing national security information at risk. As the FBI Director said when discussing the top secret emails transmitted over the Secretary's unclassified email system, he said there is evidence to support a conclusion that any reasonable person in Secretary Clinton's position or in the position of those government employees with whom she was corresponding about these matters should have known that an unclassified system was no place for top secret communications. As a reasonable person, the Secretary unquestionably knew that the proper place for classified information was on a classified server. But she decided to use her personal server anyway. Madam President, Secretary Clinton has tried to argue that using a private server in violation of State Department rules did not jeopardize our national security. Even President Obama, in what was a highly suspect public comment on an ongoing FBI investigation, said her private server wasn't a national security threat. But according to the FBI Director, that certainly wasn't the case. Director Comey explicitly stated that it was entirely possible that, and I quote, hostile actors gained access to Secretary Clinton's personal email account, end quote. And he wasn't just referring to ordinary hackers. No, the Director noted that Secretary Clinton, and I quote again, used her personal email extensively while outside the United States, including sending and receiving work-related emails in the territory of sophisticated adversaries, end quote. And that fact was one that led the FBI to the conclusion that her email account might have been compromised. In other words, Madam President, it is entirely possible that our nation's enemies gained access to Secretary Clinton's emails thanks to her decision to use her personal account. Despite Secretary Clinton's claim that the servers were protected, Director Comey went to great lengths to describe how the servers had substantially less protection than government servers and even had less protection than common commercial servers like Gmail. Madam President, yesterday Senator Gardner introduced legislation which I co-sponsored that would remove the security clearance of Secretary Clinton and any of her staff members involved in the mishandling of classified information and block Secretary Clinton from accessing classified information in her capacity as a presidential candidate. And I have to say, unfortunately, I think that's the right call. Secretary Clinton has demonstrated that she has no respect for the security of classified information, and she, like anybody else, should face the consequences. As the FBI director noted, most people who had done what the secretary did would face consequences for their actions. Other individuals found by the FBI to have engaged in such reckless handling of classified information would, at a very minimum, have their security clearance revoked and would likely face termination. The rules shouldn't be different for Secretary Clinton because she held a powerful position. In fact, those in a position of such great trust should be held to a higher standard, not a lower one. Do we really want to set the precedent that wielding political power places an individual above the law? Boy, I sure don't think we want to go there, Madam President. But that's exactly what is happening as a result of this decision. Now, I look forward to hearing what Director Comey has to say in his testimony today before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. I hope we'll hear him discuss the reasoning behind a decision not to recommend prosecution when the Secretary so clearly displayed, in the Director's own words, extreme carelessness in handling classified information. I also hope that the FBI will release the transcript of Secretary Clinton's FBI interview and other documents requested by Senator Grassley, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. A Secretary of State mishandling classified information is a grave matter, and the American people deserve to know all the facts, and Madam President, they deserve to know the truth. I yield the floor.